Before Egypt became an empire, before stone cities, armies, and monuments, there was a single idea that changed everything: that a man could become divine. As the sun rises over the Nile, its light spreads slowly across the land, touching water, fields, and distant settlements. The river moves as it always has, calm, patient, eternal. But along its banks, something new is taking shape. Power is gathering. Order is forming. A kingdom is beginning to breathe. In ancient Egypt, the pharaoh is not simply a ruler. He is the living balance between earth and sky. His presence alone is believed to hold the world in harmony. If he rules well, the Nile will rise at the right time. Crops will grow. The gods will remain satisfied. If he fails, chaos will follow. This belief does not arrive suddenly. It grows slowly, shaped by generations who depend entirely on the rhythm of the river. Floods bring life. Drought brings fear. To survive, the people need certainty. They need a figure who stands above chance. Someone chosen, protected, eternal. And so, the pharaoh rises. In the early morning, he walks through the palace corridors, surrounded by quiet attendants. His footsteps echo softly against stone floors, polished by years of ritual movement. He does not hurry. Time bends around him. Every gesture is measured, every appearance intentional. When the pharaoh emerges before his people, silence follows. Heads bow, eyes lower. This is not enforced through violence, but through belief. To look upon the pharaoh is to look upon the god's will made visible. His authority reaches far beyond the palace walls. Orders move along the river faster than boats. Fields are measured. Storehouses are counted. Temples receive offerings. Every part of life bends gently toward a single center. Yet this power is fragile. The pharaoh must prove himself daily, not through words, but through balance. He oversees rituals that maintain cosmic order. He appears in ceremonies that connect him to the gods. He listens to priests, scribes, and generals, weighing each decision carefully. Behind the calm surface lies constant pressure. The land is vast. The people are many. Borders must be protected. Resources must be controlled. The pharaoh cannot rule alone. Around him forms a court, loyal, ambitious, watchful. From this center, Egypt begins to organize itself. Regions fall into alignment. Laws emerge. Authority takes shape not as chaos, but as structure. What was once scattered along the Nile becomes unified under a single crown. The people accept this not because they are forced to, but because it brings stability. For the first time, life feels predictable. Seasons follow order. Work has purpose. The future seems secured by a ruler who stands above mortality. As the sun climbs higher, banners move gently in the warm air. The pharaoh stands still, watching the river. He is both man and symbol now, flesh and eternity combined. This is how Egypt begins its long journey as a civilization of power. Not through conquest alone, not through fear, but through the quiet belief that one ruler can hold the world together. And as the Nile continues its endless flow, the age of the pharaoh has begun. As the sun rises higher above the Nile, the palace begins to stir. Within its thick stone walls, power does not announce itself loudly. It moves quietly, through whispers, gestures, and carefully chosen words. This is the world of the pharaoh's court, where Egypt is governed not by force alone, but by presence and control. The court is not a single room, nor a single gathering. It is a living system, formed around the pharaoh like a second body. Scribes, priests, advisors, and officials move through shaded corridors, each aware of their place. Every role has weight. Every action carries consequence. At the heart of this system sits the pharaoh, elevated but never alone. He listens more than he speaks. Decisions are shaped through layers of counsel, ritual, and tradition. Nothing is rushed. Time itself seems to slow within these walls, bending to authority. The scribes are among the most powerful figures here. With reed pens and sheets of papyrus, they transform spoken command into lasting reality. Grain shipments, land divisions, labor assignments, all are recorded, measured, remembered. Without them, the kingdom would dissolve into confusion. Writing becomes an invisible chain that holds Egypt together. Nearby, priests move with equal confidence. They do not challenge the pharaoh, yet their influence is deep. They interpret the will of the gods, guide rituals, and maintain the spiritual balance upon which the pharaoh's legitimacy rests. Their words are careful, layered with meaning. A single suggestion, spoken softly, can redirect the fate of cities. Generals stand apart from these groups, their presence solid and restrained. They speak rarely within the court, but when they do, the room listens. Borders must be secured. Distant lands must be watched. Strength is always close, even when hidden beneath ceremony. The court is also a place of ambition. Some seek favor, others seek permanence. Alliances form and dissolve quietly. Loyalty is rewarded with land, titles, and influence. Disloyalty is remembered, not with public punishment, but with distance and silence. In Egypt, removal from power is often quieter than death. Throughout the day, messengers arrive from across the kingdom. They bring news of harvests, disputes, construction, and distant movements along the borders. Each message passes through the court, filtered and refined before reaching the pharaoh. What he hears is not chaos, but clarity. Yet even within this ordered space, tension remains. The balance between divine authority and human reality must be constantly maintained. A poor flood, a delayed harvest, or unrest in a distant region can ripple through the court like a sudden shadow. The pharaoh responds not with haste, but with ritual and structure. He appears in ceremonies, reinforcing the image of eternal stability. He approves offerings, commands building projects, and confirms laws. Each act strengthens the belief that Egypt is protected. As the day moves forward, the court continues its quiet labor. Power here is not loud. It is patient. It rests in preparation, in memory, in control. And while the people along the Nile may never enter these halls, their lives are shaped by what happens within them. Fields are planted, temples are built, armies move, all guided by decisions made in soft voices behind stone walls. This is how Egypt is ruled, not through constant command, but through an unbroken circle of authority, belief, and careful order. And at the center of it all, the pharaoh remains still, watching, listening, holding the kingdom together. Long before Egypt became an empire of stone and memory, power was uncertain. It passed quietly from one ruler to another, shaped by bloodlines, alliances, and belief. These were the early dynasties, a time when authority was still learning how to endure. Along the Nile, leadership begins to settle into families. Sons follow fathers. Brothers compete quietly for influence. Marriage becomes strategy, binding houses together in fragile unity. There are no grand announcements of dynasties yet, only the slow realization that continuity brings strength. The people feel this shift even if they cannot name it. Stability stretches across years instead of seasons. Decisions feel consistent. Laws no longer change with every ruler. The land begins to trust those who govern it. Yet early dynastic power is never absolute. Each new pharaoh must prove himself. Rituals confirm divine favor, but belief alone is not enough. He must manage floods, protect trade routes, and prevent local leaders from growing too independent. The unity of Egypt is young and easily fractured. In the north and south, regional identities still linger. Customs differ. Accents change. Loyalties are tested. The pharaoh's authority travels along the river, reinforced by symbols, messengers, and presence. He appears in distant towns, reminding the people that Egypt is one body, not many. Stone markers rise to mark boundaries and accomplishments. Early monuments are simple but purposeful. They are not built to impress future generations. They are built to declare order in the present. Each structure stands as a quiet statement. Power remains here. Writing begins to play a larger role. Names of rulers are recorded. Achievements are preserved. Lineage becomes memory rather than rumor. To be written is to exist beyond a single lifetime. Within the court, advisors grow more experienced. They remember past reigns. They learn which decisions bring calm and which invite unrest. Slowly, a tradition forms, not just of rule, but of governance. The pharaoh listens. This willingness to learn becomes one of Egypt's greatest strengths. Instead of constant reinvention, authority refines itself. The kingdom evolves without breaking. Change happens quietly, layered upon what came before. Outside the palace, life continues much as it always has. Fields are planted, canals are repaired, temples receive offerings. But beneath these routines, something new takes hold. The sense that Egypt is not temporary. Time stretches. Generations begin to imagine a future beyond their own lives. Children grow up knowing the same crown their parents served. Elders pass down stories of rulers whose names remain familiar long after their deaths. This continuity reshapes belief. The pharaoh is no longer just a divine presence of the moment. He becomes part of an unbroken chain, linking past, present, and future. As the sun sets over the Nile, the early dynasties continue their quiet work. There are no great empires yet, no vast armies, no towering monuments reaching for eternity. But the foundation has been laid. Egypt has learned how to remember itself. And from this memory, as dynasties settle and authority becomes familiar, Egypt begins to change its shape. What was once a line of scattered settlements along the Nile slowly transforms into organized cities, places of administration, labor, and shared identity. Stone replaces uncertainty. Structure replaces chance. Along the riverbanks, towns grow outward and upward. Mud brick homes cluster tightly together, forming neighborhoods that curve with the land. Streets are narrow and shaded, shaped not by design, but by generations of movement. Every path remembers footsteps. Cities such as Memphis and Thebes begin to emerge as centers of power. They are not merely places to live. They are engines of the kingdom. From here, orders flow outward. Goods flow inward. Egypt breathes through its cities. Construction becomes a constant presence. Stone is cut, moved, and placed with patient precision. Workers gather in large numbers, organized into teams that know their roles. This is not chaos, it is coordination. Each block lifted is a sign that Egypt can command both people and time. Markets fill with sound and motion. Traders bring grain, linen, copper, and crafted goods from across the land. Voices rise and fall in measured exchanges. Scales balance carefully. Everything is counted. Everything has value. Behind this movement stands administration. Scribes record deliveries. Officials inspect storage houses. Taxes are collected, not in coin, but in labor and produce. The city becomes a living ledger, tracking the flow of wealth and effort. Yet these cities are not only places of control, they are homes. Families gather in courtyards to eat, rest, and share stories. Children play between walls warmed by the sun. Craftsmen shape tools, jewelry, and household goods with quiet pride. Life feels anchored, predictable, safe. Temples rise within city walls, not distant from daily life, but woven into it. Their presence reminds the people that power is layered, divine above, royal below, communal within. Ritual and routine exist side by side. As cities grow, so does the distance between ruler and ruled. The pharaoh cannot be everywhere. Instead, governors act in his name, managing regions, resolving disputes, enforcing law. Their authority is borrowed, not owned. All power still leads back to the crown. This system allows Egypt to expand without breaking. Cities support one another. Resources move where they are needed. Order travels faster than rebellion. At night, lamps glow softly behind doorways. Smoke rises from hearths. The city settles into a gentle rhythm. From above, it appears almost alive, breathing, resting, preparing for another day. These cities are not built for glory alone. They are built to last. Each wall, street, and storage room serves a purpose. Egypt is learning how to turn land into structure and structure into permanence. Through stone and people, through labor and memory, the kingdom takes solid form. And as cities continue to rise along the Nile, Egypt steps closer to becoming not just a kingdom, but an empire shaped by order, endurance, and time. As Egypt's cities grow and its authority stretches farther along the Nile, power can no longer rely on presence alone. The pharaoh cannot stand in every field, hear every dispute, or count every harvest. To rule such a land, Egypt turns to something quieter and far more lasting: writing. Within shaded rooms of palaces and temples, scribes sit patiently, brushes and reeds in hand. Sheets of papyrus lie before them, pale and smooth, ready to receive meaning. With careful strokes, words take shape, not as decoration, but as command. Every decision made by the pharaoh must be recorded. Every law must be remembered exactly as it was spoken. Writing transforms power from a moment into a structure. What is written does not fade with memory. It remains. Laws emerge gradually, shaped by custom and necessity. They govern land boundaries, labor duties, trade agreements, and punishment for wrongdoing. These laws are not shouted in public squares. They are preserved quietly, enforced through officials who act in the pharaoh's name. Justice in Egypt is meant to reflect balance. Ma'at, the natural order of the world. When balance is broken, correction follows. Not through chaos, but through procedure. Complaints are heard, records are consulted, decisions are made with restraint. This system gives the people something rare: predictability. Farmers know what is expected of them. Workers understand their obligations. Merchants trust that agreements will be honored. Even punishment follows patterns rather than impulse. Life becomes navigable. At the center of this order stand the scribes. They are trained for years, learning symbols, formulas, and proper phrasing. Their role demands precision. A single mark can change the meaning of a command. A single omission can cause confusion across an entire region. Because of this, scribes hold quiet power. They do not rule, but they shape how rule is carried out. They connect the pharaoh's will to everyday life. Through them, Egypt becomes governable. Writing also allows the kingdom to look backward. Past decisions are studied. Previous reigns are compared. Mistakes are remembered. Successes are repeated. Authority becomes cumulative rather than fragile. Taxes are recorded. Grain flows into storehouses and out again during lean seasons. Labor is organized for construction and repair. Without writing, such coordination would collapse under its own weight. Yet this control is rarely visible to the common person. From the outside, Egypt still feels calm. Fields are planted. Temples stand open. Markets remain busy. The machinery of power hums quietly beneath the surface. The pharaoh relies on this system deeply. His divinity may inspire loyalty, but it is writing that sustains empire. Through law and record, Egypt extends its reach far beyond the sight of the crown. As the day progresses, scribes finish their work and carefully store documents away. Papyrus rolls are sealed. Clay tags are marked. Nothing is left to chance. Power in Egypt is no longer bound to a single place or moment. It is preserved, copied, and passed on. Authority becomes something that can outlive a ruler. And as the Nile continues its endless cycle, Egypt's control grows stronger, not through force alone, but through ink, order, and memory. As Egypt's power expands beyond its cities and fields, protection becomes essential. Order must be defended, borders must be watched. And so, alongside scribes and laws, another force quietly takes shape, the Egyptian army. This army does not exist in constant motion. It waits, it observes, it gathers strength slowly, like the Nile preparing to rise. Most of the time, Egypt feels peaceful, but beneath that calm lies readiness. Soldiers are drawn from the people. Farmers, craftsmen, and laborers become warriors when needed. They train not for conquest alone, but for preservation. To protect Egypt is to protect balance, the harmony that holds the kingdom together. Weapons are simple but effective, spears of wood and bronze, shields covered in leather, bows carefully crafted and tested. Each tool is designed for reliability, not spectacle. Strength comes from coordination, not excess. As the army grows more organized, units form with clear roles. Archers stand behind shielded infantry. Commanders issue signals rather than shouts. Movement is measured. Discipline replaces chaos. Chariots begin to appear, light, fast, and powerful. Drawn by horses, they move swiftly across open land, carrying archers who strike from a distance. These machines are not symbols of terror, but of control. They allow Egypt to respond quickly where needed. The presence of the army extends Egypt's influence without constant battle. Neighboring regions take notice. Trade routes remain open. Borders remain respected. Often, the knowledge that Egypt can act is enough to maintain peace. Within the kingdom, the army also serves another purpose: unity. Soldiers from different regions train together, eat together, and march under a single standard. Loyalties shift from local leaders to the crown. Egypt becomes one body, defended by many hands. The pharaoh stands at the center of this force, not always on the battlefield, but always above it. Victories are attributed to his divine favor. Losses are absorbed quietly, lessons learned without public blame. Authority remains intact. Campaigns beyond Egypt's borders are deliberate and limited. They seek resources, security, and influence rather than destruction. Egypt expands carefully, preferring stability over constant war. As the army moves through distant lands, it carries Egypt's order with it. Camps are structured, supplies are counted, discipline is maintained. Even far from the Nile, the rhythm of home remains. When soldiers return, they do not return as conquerors, but as guardians. They lay down weapons and resume their lives, carrying with them stories of distant places and quiet pride in service. The army strengthens Egypt not through constant conflict, but through restraint. Its true power lies in its presence, steady, prepared, controlled. As night falls and the land grows quiet once more, watchfires burn along distant edges of the kingdom. Soldiers stand alert beneath the stars, listening to the wind, watching the dark. Egypt sleeps peacefully, knowing it is guarded. Beyond the green ribbon of the Nile, the world opens wide. Deserts stretch toward distant horizons. Mountain passes lead to unfamiliar lands. Rivers flow in directions Egypt does not control. And yet, Egypt does not remain enclosed within its borders. It reaches outward, carefully, deliberately. Expansion in Egypt is not driven by endless hunger for conquest. It is guided by necessity. The kingdom needs stone, metals, timber, incense, and access to trade routes that stretch beyond sight. To remain stable, Egypt must connect with the lands around it. To the south lies Nubia, rich in gold and stone. Egyptian expeditions move along the river, establishing forts and trading posts. These journeys are not always peaceful, but they are calculated. Control is preferred over destruction, presence over chaos. To the east and north, paths lead toward the Levant and distant coastal regions. Merchants travel these routes alongside soldiers and officials. Goods move slowly but steadily. Copper, cedar wood, fine oils, and crafted objects. Each exchange binds Egypt more deeply to the wider world. As Egypt expands its reach, it brings its systems with it. Records are kept, supplies are counted. Authority is maintained through structure rather than fear. Foreign leaders are observed carefully. Some become allies. Others accept Egyptian influence in exchange for protection or trade. The army supports this expansion quietly. Its role is not constant battle, but reassurance. Garrisons are placed at key locations. Patrols move through border regions. The knowledge that Egypt is present is often enough to maintain order. Within the kingdom, expansion changes perspective. People begin to see Egypt not as a single riverland, but as the center of a larger world. Stories arrive from distant places, of unfamiliar customs, different gods, and strange landscapes. The horizon grows wider. The Pharaoh's authority expands with these connections. He is no longer only the ruler of Egypt, but a figure recognized beyond it. His name travels across borders, carried by merchants and messengers. Power becomes reputation as much as control. Yet expansion brings challenges. Distant lands are harder to manage. Communication takes time. Local tensions arise. Egypt must balance ambition with stability. Too much force invites resistance. Too little invites disorder. To maintain balance, Egypt relies on diplomacy as much as strength. Gifts are exchanged. Marriages are arranged. Agreements are recorded. Influence spreads through patience rather than domination. At home, temples acknowledge these foreign connections. Offerings are made for safe journeys. Victories are thanked. Losses are absorbed quietly. The gods are believed to watch over Egypt's reach, ensuring that expansion does not disrupt cosmic order. As evening settles over the Nile, the kingdom feels larger than it did before, not heavier, broader. Egypt stands connected to lands beyond its borders, its influence flowing outward like the river itself. This expansion does not erase Egypt's identity. It strengthens it. The kingdom learns where it ends, and where it begins again through trade, presence, and reputation. As stars rise over distant deserts and foreign rivers, Egypt remains centered, confident, and controlled. A power extending gently into the world without losing itself. As Egypt's influence stretches across land and river, another force quietly shapes the empire from within. Beyond the palace and the army, beyond laws and borders, the temples rise as pillars of authority, places where belief and power merge. To the people of Egypt, the temples are sacred spaces, but to the kingdom, they are also centers of control, organization, and continuity. Their walls do not merely hold rituals, they hold the structure of the state itself. Each major temple commands land, labor, and resources. Fields belong to the gods, tended by workers who offer part of their harvest in return for protection and favor. Storehouses fill with grain. Workshops produce tools, textiles, and offerings. The temple becomes an economic heart, steady and reliable. Priests oversee this system with calm precision. They do not rule in the pharaoh's name openly, yet their influence is constant. They interpret omens, oversee festivals, and advise on matters of balance and timing. Their words carry weight because they are believed to reflect divine will. The relationship between the pharaoh and the priesthood is carefully balanced. The pharaoh is divine, yet the gods must be served correctly. Rituals must be performed at precise moments. Offerings must follow tradition. In this way, priests become guardians of legitimacy itself. Within temple walls, knowledge is preserved, texts are copied, calendars are maintained, astronomical observations are recorded. The movement of stars, the timing of floods, the rhythm of festivals, all are tracked with care. This knowledge gives the temples quiet authority over time itself. People come to the temples not only to pray, but to seek judgment, healing, and guidance. Disputes are resolved. Oaths are sworn. Decisions gain permanence when made before the gods. The temple stands as a place where order is confirmed. During festivals, the power of the temples becomes visible. Processions move through the streets. Statues of gods are carried in silence or song. The entire city pauses to watch. In these moments, belief becomes shared experience, binding the people together. The temples also connect Egypt to eternity. They remind the people that the present is part of a larger cycle, one that stretches backward into myth and forward into the unknown. This sense of continuity stabilizes the empire in ways force never could. For the pharaoh, the temples are both allies and limits. He supports them, builds them, honors them. In return, they affirm his divine role, but their ancient traditions cannot be ignored. Power in Egypt is strongest when it flows in harmony, not domination. As the sun moves across temple columns and shadows shift slowly across stone floors, the work of belief continues quietly. Records are kept, offerings are made, knowledge is guarded. These temples are not monuments to the past. They are living structures, shaping the present and securing the future. Through them, Egypt governs not only land and people, but meaning itself. And as the Nile flows steadily onward, the temples remain calm, patient, powerful, holding the empire together through ritual, order, and time. Beneath the towering authority of the pharaoh, beneath temples, armies, and laws, Egypt is carried forward by its people. Their lives do not unfold in palaces or on distant borders, but along fields, workshops, and narrow streets warmed by the sun. Most Egyptians will never see the pharaoh closely, yet his presence shapes their days in quiet, constant ways. His image appears on walls and monuments. His name is spoken in rituals. His authority reaches them through officials, scribes, and overseers who translate royal command into daily structure. At dawn, farmers walk toward the fields beside the Nile. They move with familiarity, guided by seasons rather than clocks. The river determines their rhythm, when to plant, when to harvest, when to wait. Work is steady, demanding, and deeply connected to survival. In villages and towns, craftsmen shape the objects of everyday life. Potters turn clay into vessels. Weavers create linen from flax. Carpenters repair doors and tools. Each task supports the larger system, though few pause to consider the empire it sustains. Families gather in courtyards to eat, rest, and share stories. Children learn through observation rather than instruction. Elders pass down memory through quiet repetition. Life feels rooted, predictable, and shaped by tradition. Labor is not always voluntary. Large building projects require workers drawn from across the land. Some serve for a season, others longer. This work is demanding, but it is also understood as part of order. To build is to participate in something greater than oneself. Religion weaves through daily life gently. Small household shrines sit beside doorways. Amulets are worn for protection. Prayers are simple and practical, for health, for harvest, for balance. The gods feel close, not distant. Justice reaches the people through local officials. Disputes over land, goods, or labor are settled through procedure. Writing ensures memory. Witnesses ensure fairness. Though the system favors stability over individual desire, it provides a sense of security rare in the ancient world. The people understand their place within Egypt's order. They do not see themselves as powerless. They see themselves as part of a greater balance, one that connects land, ruler, gods, and community. When festivals arrive, daily roles soften. Processions fill streets. Music carries through the air. Work pauses briefly as belief becomes celebration. These moments remind the people that life is more than labor. As evening comes, homes fill with warmth. Lamps glow softly. Meals are shared. The day closes without urgency. Tomorrow will follow much the same pattern. And there is comfort in that knowledge. Egypt's greatness is not built solely by pharaohs or monuments. It is sustained by millions of ordinary lives moving in quiet coordination. Their effort gives weight to power. Their endurance gives meaning to eternity. Under the crown, the people live, steady, patient, and essential. As centuries pass, Egypt remains powerful, but nothing that endures forever stays unchanged. Beneath the surface of stability, time begins to press gently against the empire, not with sudden collapse, but with quiet strain. The Nile continues to rise and fall, as it always has. Yet its floods are not always predictable. Some years bring abundance, others bring uncertainty. When the river falters, the pressure moves upward, from the fields to the cities, from the cities to the palace. The pharaoh still rules, still performs rituals, still appears eternal. But the kingdom he governs has grown vast. Communication takes longer. Distant regions require constant attention. What once felt unified now demands careful maintenance. Officials work harder to preserve order. Records grow more complex. Laws expand to cover situations once handled through tradition. The system remains functional, but less effortless. Control must be renewed again and again. The army remains strong, yet its presence is needed in more places than before. Borders stretch farther. Foreign pressures increase. Egypt is respected, but also watched. Influence invites response. Within the court, memory becomes both strength and burden. Past successes shape expectations. The weight of history presses upon each new ruler. To maintain balance is no longer enough. The pharaoh must now defend it against time itself. Temples continue their rituals, offering reassurance through continuity. Festivals repeat familiar patterns. Priests preserve ancient knowledge. Yet even sacred institutions must adapt. Resources shift. Priorities change. Stability requires constant effort. Among the people, life continues with quiet resilience. Farmers plant, craftsmen build, families gather as they always have. But stories begin to include hardship alongside prosperity. Egypt feels permanent, yet no longer effortless. This is not decline as destruction. It is decline as fatigue. The empire does not fall apart. It slows, it bends. It learns to survive pressure rather than avoid it. Power becomes cautious. Decisions carry greater weight. Every action must consider long-term balance. The pharaoh senses this shift. His role becomes heavier, more symbolic than ever. He must reassure a kingdom that has known greatness for generations. His image remains strong, but the effort behind it grows invisible. As evening approaches, the Nile reflects a sky tinged with deeper color. The empire rests, not in failure, but in endurance. Egypt has faced change before. It will face it again. Time does not erase Egypt. It reshapes it. And as the land settles into night, the kingdom holds itself steady, aware that eternity is not the absence of change, but the ability to continue through it. In Egypt, death is never an ending. It is a continuation, a passage carefully prepared, measured, and controlled. For the living, and especially for the pharaoh, what comes after life is as important as what comes before it. From the earliest dynasties, Egyptians understand that eternity must be organized. Chaos has no place beyond death. Just as the kingdom is governed on earth, so too must existence continue in the next world, ordered, balanced, and protected. For the pharaoh, death is not departure. It is transformation. He is prepared for this moment long before it arrives. Tombs are planned while he still rules. Texts are written. Ritual objects are crafted. Priests rehearse ceremonies that will guide his spirit safely beyond the horizon. Nothing is left to chance. These preparations serve more than spiritual purpose. They reinforce authority. The promise of eternal rule strengthens the pharaoh's power in life. To obey him is to align with cosmic order itself, not only now, but forever. The construction of tombs becomes an act of state. Workers are organized, resources are allocated, stone is moved with precision and patience. These structures are not built for display. They are built to endure beyond memory. Within burial chambers, walls are covered with texts and images. They speak instructions, spells, and affirmations. They guide the soul through judgment, protect it from danger, and secure its place among the gods. Writing once again becomes a bridge, this time between worlds. The people understand this deeply. They prepare their own modest versions of eternity. Amulets are worn, names are written, small offerings are placed beside the dead. To be remembered is to continue. Judgment after death reflects the same balance valued in life. The heart is weighed, truth is measured, order is confirmed. The afterlife is not a reward for power, but for harmony with mud, the principle that sustains the universe. For the pharaoh, this judgment is symbolic. His successful passage confirms that Egypt itself remains in balance. His eternity becomes proof that the kingdom endures. As generations pass, tombs fill the desert edge. Valleys of stone hold centuries of ambition, fear, and hope. The land of the dead grows alongside the land of the living, mirroring it in silence. At night, when the desert cools and stars fill the sky, these places feel close. The boundary between life and death softens. Egypt does not fear this closeness. It embraces it. Death here is not hidden. It is integrated. The politics of eternity shape every reign. Each ruler seeks not only to govern well, but to be remembered rightly. Legacy becomes a form of immortality, carried through ritual, stone, and story. As the night deepens, the idea of eternity settles gently over the land. Life continues. Death waits patiently. Both are held within the same order. In Egypt, time does not rush forward. It circles, returns, and remembers. And so, even in silence, the kingdom speaks, promising that nothing truly ends, and that balance, once achieved, can last beyond breath itself. As the final light of day fades across the Nile, Egypt settles into something deeper than night. The land grows still, not from exhaustion, but from familiarity. It has lived through countless cycles, and it knows how to rest. The river continues its endless journey, flowing past temples, cities, fields, and tombs without distinction. It does not remember kings or wars. It remembers balance, and through it, Egypt remains. Pharaohs rise and fall. Dynasties change. Power shifts shape. Yet the idea of Egypt endures beyond any single ruler. It exists in rhythm rather than command, in repetition rather than force. It lives in the quiet agreement between land, people, and sky. Stone monuments stand beneath the stars, softened by time but not erased. Their purpose has already been fulfilled, not to impress, but to remain. They hold memory without speaking. They wait without effort. The temples continue their silent work. Even as centuries pass, rituals echo through time. Knowledge is preserved, copied, and passed forward. Meaning outlives moment. The people of Egypt fade into history, yet their lives remain present in small ways. In paths worn into stone, in symbols carved by careful hands, in names written and rewritten across generations. To have lived here is to have left a trace. Night deepens. Stars stretch across the sky in patterns unchanged by empire. The Duat, the unseen realm, feels close now, not as a place of fear, but of continuity. Life and death no longer feel separate. They feel connected, flowing into one another like the river itself. Egypt does not disappear. It transforms. Its rulers become memory. Its cities become layers beneath the earth. Its power becomes influence rather than command. Yet its essence remains present, in balance, in order, in patience. The world moves on. New civilizations rise elsewhere. New names are spoken. New stories are told. Still, Egypt endures, not as a kingdom, but as an idea that refuses to vanish. As this journey comes to rest, there is nothing left to hold on to. No lesson to memorize. No ending to announce. Only a sense of calm understanding. That time does not erase everything. That order can outlast chaos. That continuity is its own kind of power. Let the Nile flow. Let the stars drift. Let Egypt remain where it has always been. Beyond time, beyond rule, beyond the need to be remembered. And as the world grows quiet once more, you may rest, knowing that some things do not fade, they simply continue.